Welcome to a special episode of Deep in State. We got the mysterious Max Gold on here. Max is a co-author on a bunch of these hips and is going to walk us through what they are, what they mean, and he's probably going to tell me how I should vote on them. Max, let's do this.
First, I'm going to tell you to go down and hit the subscribe button right here, and also like it. Forgot that.
Make sure you like and subscribe to these videos. That helps you see the next video when it comes out. As soon as they come out, all the guests that we bring on are pretty rad, and it really helps us help you help them. Okay, so Max, HIP 79 mappers. What is that all about?
All right, so essentially there's going to be these mapper devices. Here's one. It looks like this. Don't tell some people at Nova that I showed it on camera. But you're going to go around with those mappers, and each res 12 hex is going to do this thing where it's called charging up. Essentially what happens is every hour, it accrues another point up to 7 days. And when you go and you map that hex, you receive the amount of points that hex has. Whatever, I think it's 168 hours in a 7-day period. Once it hits that, it discharges down to 0 if you map it. If you don't map it or no one maps it, it just stays at that maximum number. So essentially, it's incentivizing people to go around mapping once a week for each hex. One thing that it doesn't do in the start is it has no effect on the radios. It's simply just to map it and get more data for the network. You will earn mobile by doing it, but this is a very minimum viable product. Let's get mappers out there, see what data we can get from them, see what's important, and then decide how we want to use that to ensure that people are covering the areas they say they're covering. But again, very important to mention, in this version of the HIP, it has no effect on the radios. However, in the future, it will.
Got it. And we're taking a lot of lessons learned from your, what is it, your alma mater there on your shirt? Colin, to make sure that we get this one right. Okay, so that's 79. Is there a way that you are voting on that? Is it a yes-no thing? Yeah, sometimes those are confusing.
I'm just going to vote yes on that one. But I mean, okay. I've also been a co-author on all these HIPs that we're going to discuss, so I'm a bit biased.
Okay, a little bit. HIP 82, so Helium Mobile joining as a service provider. Walk me through that.
Right, so under HIP 53, to use the mobile network, what you need to do is you need to be admitted into the sub-DAO as a service provider. This allows you, if you're like an MVNO, to use the network. Part of what you have to do in that scenario is you have to stake 500 million mobile tokens. So Helium Mobile, what they're doing is they're saying we would like to use the Helium Network. Huge shocker. So this is kind of a, hey, we would like to use the network. Yeah, so exactly. Huge formality on this one. One sticking point that we kind of discussed in the episode with Boris, link in the card right here. See, Nick, this is how you do YouTube.
Thank God someone's here to tell me how to do it.
But yeah, no, one thing we discussed with Boris, which was a bit of a sticking point, was after a Helium Mobile subscriber uses 30 gigabytes of data, Helium Mobile does not want to pay for that data. They feel this is a gaming measure that could potentially have some bad financial incentives for them. So in the HIP, there's currently, for the first 6 months after it passes, there will be, if a cell phone uses more than 30 gigs of data in a month, any data that it passes after that, and this is just for Helium Mobile, the network, so anything on T-Mobile doesn't count, but any data beyond that 30 gigs won't get rewarded. After that 6-month period, what will happen is there will need to be a way for all the radio owners to opt out of giving out free data. Whether or not that function exists in 6 months, we don't know. It'll be likely that Helium Mobile asks for an extension. Personally, I was against this piece of it. Again, watch the episode with Boris. I feel like the service providers should just police their own customers and do things like throttling or other things of the sort. But this was kind of what we came to in compromising with Helium Mobile. So that's what it is. So it's 30 gigs, and you'll be able to opt out in 6 months, or if not in 6 months, they'll have to come up with a reason why they couldn't do it. within 6 months and ask for a extension.
Okay, cool.
Voting yes on that one. Yes.
Vote yes. Cool. And then HIP 84 hex boosting. What's hex boosting?
So hex boosting, right now we have a huge issue with the mobile network where there's like 7,500 radios. People just put them wherever the fuck they want. It's not a good network. There's no contiguous coverage. So hex boosting is a way to kind of fix that. What Helium Mobile is going to do is they're going to look at where their customers are, and they're going to say, okay, we actually think there's a lot of value for there to be radios in these areas. And what they're going to do is they're going to burn mobile tokens to create a more of an incentive for people to place radios. So for every, it's half a cent per hex, and that becomes an increase in 1x in the multiplier. So for example, if they burn half a cent worth of mobile into a certain res 12, that'll give you 2x rewards for a month in that res 12. They can burn more if they want to increase that or increase the amount of time, but that's how it's going to work out. That'll allow them to signal to the network that this is where we think it's important that we have users and we want coverage in these areas because, you know, Boris didn't really go into the details on what they're spending, but let's say it's about $2.50 per gig with T-Mobile. If they're able to get that down to 50 cents per gig, it's well worth it to them. So
got it.
And by burning these tokens, rather than staking them or just telling the network that this is what they want, this at least cuts out one of the potential gaming mechanisms of, like, you know, maybe they just want to say that where they have their radios should get more. So by burning it, at least keeps them a little honest, and it also increases token burn, which mobile's got a pretty big problem right now with the dilution of the token. So hopefully that'll help with that.
Got it. And this is one of the big thorny problems of the entire kind of DePIN space is how do you signal to the network where deployments need to happen? I know you and I have worked on this on the GeoNet GIP1 proposal that's coming out, but pretty exciting to see that you've got your fingers across all these different projects in the DePIN space and really helping out all of them with the incentive background that you have. So super cool to see it, Max. Thanks a ton for showing your face. I know you're usually behind the scenes, but good to share your wisdom with everybody else out there.
Where's my GeoNet question?
The today's GeoNet question is, I don't know.
All right.
When is that going to be public?
Click the link down there, GeoNet. I think promo code DePIN gets you $20 off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last I heard.
There you go.
Cool.
All right. Great.
All right. YouTubing complete. Good work, Max. Thanks, man.